I see you don't want to talk about it.
No. Yes, it's a hack, like Blackhat stuff. It shouldn't be done like that, but yeah, it worked.
Okay, why are we here? We're talking about core web vitals. That's the topic. Why are core web vitals so hard to understand is one of the first questions that always comes to my mind. And what is actually the difference between PageSpeed and core web vitals, and where does the data come from? And basically there are so many questions coming to my head thinking about core web vitals. And just today I had a huge confusion about that topic again. Did you see my post on Slack actually?
Yes, I did, but I haven't really looked into it deeply, so okay. I don't know. I did something yesterday, but like maybe I did something, maybe not.
Yeah, but basically that's my first question. Did you do anything to optimize our website? Because I've seen, like a month ago, we have made some significant change to our website, bleech.de, and there we basically we removed the cookie banner, the opt-in, and moved to plausible. And I had the really big hope that this would increase dramatically our PageSpeed score and core web vitals. And what happened, checking in like 2 weeks later, is that basically Google told us that all our pages are a fail now, which didn't make any sense to me because the PageSpeed score looked great, but the core web vital score looked really, really bad. And now 4 weeks later, set myself a reminder to check in again today. And now somehow magically, all the core web vital scores are really, really good again. So did you, Dominik, tell me, did you do anything about it?
Yes, of course. Don't you remember? Like when you said that our like we had this little technique, I want to call it, right? Okay. When we were using ball lamps to make our to make the a Google PageSpeed score higher, right? Mm-hmm. And this, of course, when we weren't using ball lamps anymore, like we weren't using this technique anymore. So that means that our score like dropped.
What is that? That technique? What was that?
The little hack, like delaying JavaScript execution until you have agreed.
I see you don't want to talk about it because it's a little hack. Yeah.
No. Yes, it's a hack. It's like Blackhat stuff. It shouldn't be done like that. But yeah, it worked.
Well, that's kind of the question.
Like this is a good theme, right? This is like a good like topic to
Blackhat PageSpeed optimization.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why are you doing PageSpeed optimization, right? Most clients come to us for PageSpeed optimizations because they want to improve their Google ratings. Like they want to just like get better Google like or search result coverage, and that's like the main thing that drives our clients, I would say. But like honestly, like you know that we most of the time think about like users. We want to improve the overall experience for everyone, and not just for the numbers that one company generates with one browser that's out there, right? Mm. So that's why, like faking these, like or like hijacking or using techniques that will only improve the Google page speed, but not the overall experience for the user, is something that I would call like a Blackhat technique, right? Because you're not optimizing the website as you should for a better user experience, but you're optimizing for a higher score on Google PageSpeed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but like that's also totally what I think. This has a bit of history in terms of what I really like about PageSpeed these days. Like I recently, together with a couple of colleagues, we created some kind of PageSpeed audit where we are also explaining first of all what PageSpeed is and how it compares to Core Web Vitals, and what I really loved when creating that presentation is when I read all the Google documentation about what it's all about, and understanding and clarifying that PageSpeed and Core Web Vitals is about, or supposed to be about, the user experience, right? And what kind of effect the performance of the website, the loading behavior, has on the actual user experience. And I think that's generally a good thing, because I can see how the PageSpeed measures changed in the recent years, that Google does have a big interest, or the people working on that topic have a big interest in achieving actual significant and meaningful data, creating KPIs that mean something to the user experience. Whereas in the early days of PageSpeed, I felt it was more about trying to achieve some kind of or like passing some technical check, right? And back then, one of the biggest drawbacks also was like that you couldn't achieve 100 out of 100. Like generally, it would be possible to achieve that in the development environment, but as soon as you would add production scripts like Google Analytics, it was impossible to achieve 100 out of 100, because Google PageSpeed said, well, you have Google Analytics loaded and it's not cache optimized and this and that. This was always annoying to us. And I think that's the first time when here and there we started optimizing something like that, like using some kind of technique to hide that from Google, because we felt somehow, I think our clients also felt the way that this was unfair in terms of like punishing for that. But actually, this, looking back to it, this looks to be like the beginning of actually not trying to achieve 100 of 100, but getting to some KPIs and measures that resemble the user experience. So,
yeah, totally.
But
I totally agree with you that also in the past, like we focused on these like almost like time to first byte and like some other tools that weren't like relevant. So like weren't really relevant in the user experience, and was just like usually more things that you could also measure from the back end, right? And not so much stuff that you measured in the front end. And this has definitely improved, but one has to say that like now it's Google is doing that, right? Let's put it that way, like the data that you get like in the Core Web Vitals, these 20-day average, right? This is like also recorded only from Chrome users, right? That I don't know if they opted in or if you have to opt out or whatever, but it's only like one browser, and the main reason why people want to optimize again, or why they say, okay, this is relevant for us, is because they will rank higher in the search results, right, on Google. So it's a bit of a shame that the like sort of the monopolist in search engine also is the monopolist in browser engine, and also in like dev tooling now, it seems they become. And I mean, they are doing a great job, and a lot of people are producing great content also to educate people and so on. But still, it is a bit of, it could be seen as a bit of an issue, right?
Yeah, right. They are setting the rules, kind of what's good, what's bad, and that's also what can be sometimes misleading, because recently I also remember we had this situation where a client told us, whoa, our page speed is so bad. We had some consultant or some person look at it, and why is that the case? We just relaunched our website, should be so good. And then we noticed something very significant. First of all, it was the Core Web Vital scores were really, really good. So the actual field data was really, really good. But just the page speed scores weren't very good. But that was mainly because of external scripts being loaded from the client side. And then without having this precise look at that first, like I think multiple people also from our team tried to jump on it and said, yeah, what can we do? Install some extra plugins, improve the caching and this and that. But then we took some time and did a thorough page speed report and or an audit, and someone from the team figured out, I think it was Kolya, right? We figured out that the page speed score, the measured page speed score was without the scripts at 99 out of 100. And with the scripts, production scripts like tracking, and it was like cookie opt-in, privacy management, it was like so something in the orange area, right? And I just feel this is somehow can be misleading, or you need to really fully understand on what the difference between core web vitals and page speed is and how that's influenced. And second, I think that 99% of times, I think people are measuring the page speed score just for the homepage. And I'm also doing it that way. Like typically, I'm looking at the homepage of a website, whereas the homepage can be just so different from other pages, because sometimes you want to have a strategic decision like, let's have a huge video and banner on the header, which will just like be bad on your, I want to say CLS, no, the LCP, largest contentful paint, right? But on all other pages like blog pages or landing pages, you might not have that, but just like a text-based header or maybe a big image that gets loaded much, much quicker and gets a much better page speed score and core web vital score, and those pages would actually be more relevant for SEO. But I don't actually understand at this point, gotta be honest about it, what and how Google takes into consideration for their ranking. I think I read somewhere, we are taking speed into consideration, and most likely, that's just what I assume, it's about the core web vitals and not about the simulated page speed, right? Because that's the actual field data that they're getting. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't know anything about that. I mean, it's like probably the best, like, how do you say it? Like the best kept secret. The exact algorithm, right, of Google and how they, like how page speed plays into the ranking. But I would say, like, I think there are a lot of pages actually that don't have enough field data, as it's always written, right, for the core web vitals. So I don't know if these actually will then not, like, if for those pages actually they don't care about speed values, measurements. I don't know about that. So I would, like, I think I read somewhere that only the core web vitals go into the ranking, but this would be a little bit strange, right? So, like, what happens then to pages that are not visited that often, that don't have this data, or that are only visited in Firefox, for example, right?
Well, I think, again, I don't remember exactly where I read that or heard that, but I think that I understood that the page speed or core web vital data is taken into consideration. However, it is not a crucial ranking factor. It would be more like it doesn't get you a better ranking, but if you were in a very competitive space around keywords, that having a better page speed score can be one figure which will put you above the other. But it's more like, probably more like an add-on in search engine ranking of Google, but not like one of the biggest topics. At the same time, this is not the only one, or for me, it's not the most important reason for loading or for achieving good page speed, but more the actual user experience, because it does, you can tell that it does make a difference how the loading of a website feels to people. Like a fast loading website just feels so much more professional and high quality, and also other things like the layout shift, cumulative layout shift, and so on. I think these are things that really make sense, that I personally, as a developer, try to optimize always, anyways, already, and also trying to load the first thing on the page in the header as quick as possible. So I was rather happy once those things were introduced to kind of support my ideas and views of that this is like how it should work. So I think that's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And I mean, like, I mean, it was a little or very generalized what I said at the beginning, right? That our clients, they all just want to optimize their websites or page speed because of their Google ranking and so on, right? Because like from all of the field studies that have been done in the past, like it's all a good page speed will like increase the conversion on your website, right? And like keep users longer than like a bad performing website. So of course this is also in consideration, but no, like I fear that most of the clients that we deal with are not number driven that deeply to their actual like to metrics on their websites, but more towards like a Google ranking metric, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think I think that makes sense, and also it's like, yeah, like it's just like it's this one figure that people can kind of relate to, or they see that they want it to be good. It's probably not everyone's not questioning in all detail, or talks about like why it is important for them, but just like having that number and agreeing on, hey, this is important to us. We should be good at this. This is good, right? And this helps certainly, but just when it's not good, I think you gotta like look very much in detail at it, why that's the case, and if sometimes that might be okay, that it's not only about achieving that above 90 out of 100. Like we're always shooting for that, right? We always want to do that. And that's our own benchmark with Flint. It's like 98 out of 100, I think, because that's just what we can achieve. But just generally, like sometimes there are design decisions made also specifically that will influence that, or adding certain tracking scripts and so on that influence that. And then if we're then kind of feel we're pushed to achieving something more, something better, then we're starting considering also these type of Blackhat techniques to optimizing page speed and core web vitals. So circling back maybe to that, how we started this, I think it could be interesting to talk about and to learn about what you did to achieve the good page speed score on our website. Although we loaded all kinds of script stuff that shouldn't have allowed us to get a good page speed score.
Yeah, I mean the trick that we applied or that we use for our website was actually in Ball Labs you can block scripts until a certain consent is given, right? So Ball Labs is like a consent management plugin for WordPress where you get like this cookie banner in simple terms, and yeah, only when you hit the accept or save button and you accept the necessary cookies, only then we loaded most of the JavaScript. I mean, we did load some other JavaScript, some main JavaScript like lazy sizes and so on at the beginning, just to not have a broken website. But all other JavaScript, all the functionality of the page was only loaded after you clicked accept, right? And suddenly when we change to plausible, which is of course another great topic to talk about, like privacy first tracking, and thus making the cookie consent banner at the like start of your visit unnecessary, kind of. We of course always loaded all the scripts, and this led to a lot more JavaScript being loaded than actually what was necessary, but actually also like internal JavaScript, right? Not from external sources, but from all the components, because we had a lot of components on our homepage. So there was a lot of JavaScript on the homepage as well. And this slowed down the execution of the website, or the parsing and evaluation of the scripts, like massively, basically. And the thing that I did to speed it up was to lazy load all of our scripts. Like lazy load in the sense that the JavaScript is only loaded when a component gets into the viewport, right? So, and this actually dramatically improved the page speed score again. And I think since we applied this change, the core web vitals are going up again.
So is this the script file actually only loaded, or is the script file loaded already, only not evaluated or initialized?
No, we are actually what we are doing so we use this WordPress starter theme called Flint, right? That we developed for those who don't know. And in there, in some of the newer versions, we use a code splitting technique, either powered by Webpack or by Vite. This actually we use to only load the JavaScript of components that are on a page. Mm-hmm. So actually, the compiler or the build tool actually splits all of the JavaScripts into based upon certain criteria. And one of the criteria is that we dynamically import the scripts if we find a new element on the page, a new component. So we use web components, right? Like native web components. And whenever a new web component is found on the page that hasn't been defined yet, we check an object, a JavaScript object, if this component has a script file. And if so, we load that. And this is done on page load, basically. Mm-hmm. But we changed this now, or I changed this to not load the script files on page load, but only when a component, like when this custom element gets into the viewport.
Right. So
and only then the actual request, the network request, is being made, and thus we can delay a lot of the evaluation, parsing, and execution of scripts to a later point in time.
Right. Also that, right? Because like all the parsing stuff and so on, that's like when you have a very big website where you notice that also Google's complaining in the PageSpeed test about like a lot of parsing time, maybe about the JavaScript, even though there might not be much execution happening yet. This is something that's probably coming with a new Flint version, right? Flint 2.0, like right now. We're not having, we're having everything bundled, and we also looked into like the new developments and PageSpeed performance developments, and so we're going more into this dynamic loading, lazy loading things when they are needed, actually, not just like on page load, but when they are needed. One thing that just came to my mind about this, like we call it now Blackhat PageSpeed, because why actually? Like, is it actually Blackhat? Because what we did with that solution, also with the cookie banner being activated, is we actually improved the first loading time, right? Because it did something to the user. It was quicker to see this whole pop-up and that you could accept it, only that we delayed then the script loading to a later point. So, and I think why I consider it more like Blackhat is because even though it did what Google thinks it should do, the actual, with the cookie banner on your site, the actual PageSpeed experience, I feel like is more like after you click that cookie banner away, if it's a cookie banner that is like covering the whole page and something like that, only then the actual experience starts. But with that optimization, we actually delayed that, and the actual experience got slowed down a little bit because in the moment when you clicked accept, then all this stuff needed to happen. I think people, especially on a computer and so on, they didn't really notice that. And the very first loading time expression is still like improved. But yeah, it feels weird and wrong because we then optimize for the loading experience of a cookie banner, basically, especially on mobile screens where all you see anyways first is the cookie banner. So that's a bit weird.
Yeah, and again, like I had this discussion with one of our experts for content management and SEO, where I had the question, like, does it actually matter if Google, like if the page speed or Lighthouse or whatever, the Google bot sees the cookie banner or not. Like, should the Google bot see the cookie banner? Right?
Yeah.
And because there are some tools, some content management tools, platforms that will automatically not show the consent banner or cookie banner when it's a crawler, right? When a crawler hits the page. And I mean, it does make sense because you don't want the stuff to get indexed, right? Like you don't want your consent management to get indexed, right? You want it to have the same experience as a normal user. And then again, what is a normal user?
Exactly. What is the normal user experience? And if the normal user experience is seeing that cookie banner, well, then fair enough, right? I know that there also in Ball Labs, there is this option where you can say, treat search engines as if like cookies were accepted. But then there's also only this one option, like when people click accept all. Well, should this actually be the default? Like, what if people shouldn't rather they be the default from a user perspective, that they click save without accepting all that stuff? And that's kind of a bummer, where I feel like either you're optimizing for the cookie banner and that view, or you're optimizing for kind of the worst possible scenario where like you're getting judged on everything that gets loaded on the page. And usually why that's the bad scenario is like, because for us, like as developers, being judged upon page speed, when everything is accepted, that's typically stuff that other people add, like a tracking person adds in Google Tag Manager, all kinds of stuff that gets loaded, and that we, or at least it feels like that we get judged upon. And
yeah. But then again, like, I mean, there are actually some tools that are being worked on, or like the one that I'm thinking about is like PartyTown, which will actually take these third-party scripts and offload them into a web worker, so that all the tracking or like other scripts are not running on your main thread, but in a separate thread, and don't get the same priority. But this doesn't work for all scripts. It doesn't work for all use cases. The software is still in beta, I think. But this could be like a future, I think, where I think it makes like this could improve page speed by a lot. But I also feel like all of these new techniques, like companies that provide these tracking solutions or advertising solutions, they don't care about it. Like, I have not ever seen a single well implemented, speed optimized implementation of like a client script for an ad platform, whatever. And I think this is like a major downfall. Like why not? Like, they are earning so much money, and like this could be like a great USP, right? For a new like advertising company, having like the best, well optimized, most optimized script, or even for content management. There's hardly a good content management platform that has like optimized scripts, and only after like people complain for years and years, like they change something about that.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think when it comes to content managers, I think that they're just a couple of weird, let's say just weird implementations that I feel really would need some work to be really great. And similarly about the tracking scripts and services. However, yeah, I guess it's not in their biggest interest, kind of, right? They are more following their own agenda, and it's just like more a side interest. And it's probably hard for them anyways to do that alone, because people are loading so many different services then on their website. But at the same time, this could be like a general topic, saying what should actually be loaded, what's the future of websites. And like for us just decided that we actually want to get rid of all of that stuff. We don't want to optimize further for cookie banners and tracking scripts, but we want to just get rid of all that stuff, and work on a solution for our own website to have privacy first tracking, and to opt in people to external services like YouTube videos when needed, when people are actually asking for it and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm actually really, really happy with not having a cookie banner. I just feel like lots of people and companies aren't ready for this yet, but I would love to see that and see that more.
Yeah. Definitely. I think also that's a great solution. And I also think, I mean, we will probably talk about this one other day as well, how a lot of like cookie banners are implemented wrongly. Like kind of you have a cookie banner, but then before you hit any, like click anything, before you interact, you get like hundreds of cookies loaded on your in your browser. So that's,
Oh, right.
I see that over and over. Again, and this way it would be, okay, you don't have a cookie banner. That means when you load the page, you shouldn't have any cookies. I mean,
yeah.
And
except for very rare cases, right? I just recently read also some actual legal texts about that, how that interest is expressed and what's okay with cookies or persisting data as it's written there. As it's not just like cookies, right? But could be local storage or anything else alike. But exactly, like just yesterday, I had someone approach me and say, hey, we need our website, on a website like Google Fonts needs to be replaced. And I said, yeah, that's totally valid. We can look into that. Like that was not a website that we developed, just another website of them. And then I looked at it and it had a cookie banner, but basically everything was loading before clicking anything. It was including Facebook, Google, third-party CDN stuff, Google Fonts, setting cookies, and so on and so on. I've seen this so many times, actually. And sometimes even I told people, and they were like, yeah, whatever. But we have a cookie banner, right? So our developer told me it's okay. I was like, all right, yeah, it's not. But if you feel that's enough, then this says a lot about like privacy, the state of privacy in general. Another big topic, state of privacy, intention of privacy laws, GDPR, and so on. Okay, I feel this is our first episode, and we just probably uncovered a full season of additional topics on this.
Yeah, I think so as well. But there was like, I was talking about the Party Town stuff, and I wanted to, like, there was like one other thing that I wanted to say about this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it, but it's gone. It was about performance, right?
Okay, yeah.
It was about performance and the Blackhat. Blackhat is a strong word.
Yeah, it's not Blackhat.
Yes, okay, no. But again, okay, now I know what I wanted to say, because I think this is really important as well. You said, okay, what do you optimize for, right? Do you optimize for the first loading of the page with a cookie banner? Do you optimize for the first loading of the page without a cookie banner? Or actually, do you optimize for the second loading of a page, where you actually already have a lot of like assets cached, right?
True.
So this is like a third thing that you have to consider. And actually, in the Core Web Vitals, where you have field data, right? Everything should be sort of represented, right? Because some people will have an ad blocker, but maybe those with an ad blocker, maybe they don't take part in this stats anyways.
Likely.
But yeah, but you have people that accept all, you have people that don't accept any cookies, then you have first-time visitors, but you have mostly probably returning visitors, right? And for those, the numbers are totally different again as well. And this is probably a reason why a lot of the times you have a big discrepancy between the page speed data and the Core Web Vitals.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, and then again, like you can even, I mean, we don't really implement service workers or things like that a lot, right? With like for improving caching or like doing some other crazy things, because it's mostly not needed for the types of websites we do. But yeah, that's like, that's also a reason why external scripts, when you have them cached, of course, they don't, like, it's not that bad anymore, right?
Right. We also had this discussion multiple times already, like, should we bundle a couple of scripts? Should we lazy load every single one individually because of the caching implications that it might have. And at some point, it was like 2 or 3 years ago already, I think. But that's like we had assets served over HTTP2 into individual packages. But then we decided to kind of go back, or it felt like going back, a step back to bundle a lot of stuff, because we felt the page cache advantages would be much higher than the individual evaluation and so on. Right. I think we probably have to, or my philosophy, my personal opinion is, I think you should always, when it comes to page speed, you should optimize for the actual user experience, and rather than like take what Google PageSpeed tells you, or the core web vitals, take that as a basis for discussion and evaluation to then come up with a good concept for the future, and just basically try to trust that the scores will be adapted over time, or will be figured out in a way that just follows what you're optimizing for, the actual user experience, and not just like try to optimize for the technical scores in its own. But sometimes you got to make a compromise, right? But
yeah. And just like one thing that I recently learned is that Google actually has an NPM package called Web-Vitals, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. And this you can use to measure the core Web Vitals yourself. That means like for any browser, right? For any browser that visits your website, for any user that comes to you. And then like you have to integrate that somehow into your analytics suite. Like they have some examples how to integrate it with Google Analytics, like GA4, Universal Analytics, the old Analytics, and also Tag Manager. But you can, of course, do that for everything that supports to track custom events or custom metrics, basically. And this is really nice, I think. And I think this is like this should be done more often. And I think we should start that soon as well.
We should definitely look into that. Like when you sent it to me, I was like, oh, this looks so interesting. I didn't know about that. But at the same time was like, I think I wrote to you, like, I'm not going to dig into that right now, because I know I will just get lost into it and spend a couple of days trying to work with that. But we should definitely make that a topic and learn more about that and dig into that.
Yeah.
One
thing that I learned, like, let me just like one more thing, because that's interesting for the developers. Because I just learned that there is like a browser function called send beacon. Like, I don't know if I knew, like it's actually widely supported by like 96% of like browsers. And this is like a way to send these tracking stats or like other stats to a server. It's basically a non-blocking post request that you can send. And this is like a lightweight way of sending tracking. Yeah, that can be optimized. And Plausible, unfortunately, doesn't support that. I just saw it like in Google Analytics, that in the newer versions they have a transport, the transport beacon, I think it's called, that you can use. But I thought that was really interesting. That there are a lot of like features, a lot of like browser API that has been established in the last couple of, I don't know, 2 years maybe, or 2-3 years, that that is not widely used.
Yeah, like about the send beacon, I feel like it's been around a while, but maybe that's just like my personal impression. But similarly, like I didn't even look into like which library supported that yet, but or which tracking service. Why would they not do that?
Yeah,
there are probably reasons to dig into as well.
Browser support. Yeah. Well, anyways.
All right. Shall we wrap up?
I don't know. We have a lot to talk about. We can always talk about.
We can, but that's the thing. We can probably. That's like the way I feel right now. It's like, okay, should we wrap up, Dominik? It's like, yeah, one more thing. I've got one more thing, and I was like, yes, absolutely. This is probably gonna go on forever. So we're gonna sit down like here for hours and hours. I think like we just gonna have a couple of more topics around this whole PageSpeed topic. There's so much that needs to be discussed and uncovered, and what we're currently discussing about, and things that are hard to find just the one answer, right? But to share, exchange opinions and approaches and so on. So, but sounds like today was mostly about Blackhat PageSpeed. Is there something like Blackhat PageSpeed? Is there? What do you think? What do you call it? You said there's no Blackhat PageSpeed. What is that then?
So is there? I think you can call some stuff Blackhat PageSpeed if it's only about your scores and not about user experience or anything.
Then it's
it's getting harder. It's getting harder to optimize things for just the numbers that won't affect the users positively. Mm-hmm. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But it's about your intention, right? So I think it's about intention. And if your intention is just to increase a score, then that's not like what PageSpeed should be about, right?
I absolutely agree with that. Good intentions. Then PageSpeed for good intentions.
Yeah. All right.